everyone, welcome to SuperConnectivity. I'm your host, Charlie, the Professor Esser, and with me as always is...
Phil Perch.
Phil, glad to have you back as always. So, what is going on in the world of Marvel Comics today? Well, not just Marvel Comics, but the Marvel Universe as a whole. The big thing that just happened is, of course, we've got our new Agent Carter out. In fact, I believe that I haven't gotten the chance to listen to it yet, but I think on the feed, on the Nuff Said feed is the most recent podcast by Rob, Jack, and Lil on Agent Carter's big 2-hour premiere. Did you catch the 2-hour premiere, Phil?
Yeah, like I said, I just watched the 2-hour premiere last night. There was so much on TV this week, but yeah, I watched it last night.
Yeah, man, I actually, it's crazy. It's too much content, and it's starting to get to be a problem. I remember when you would wait all year for some big Marvel event or even a DC event, and it's like, oh look, it's the new episode of it's the new Incredible Hulk movie or what have you, and.
Well, I mean, it was even worse this week because on Tuesday night, with Agent Carter, you had the Captain America special before that, but also you had Flash on for DC, and after Flash, they had their specials for Legends of Tomorrow and the new DC movies coming up, Batman vs. Superman.
Which I also completely missed. I just, it's just crazy. Anyway, so let's start with Let's start with the Captain America 75th anniversary. Did you see that?
Yes, I did.
Okay, yeah, and it's interesting to me, and I know they do this usually, which is that they try to present the 75 years of Captain America from the comics, but they also sort of play with the current modernized continuity of the comics. So they're dealing with Peggy Carter back in the 40s, even though Peggy Carter wasn't a character until the 1970s. Mm-hmm. Completely overlooking Betsy Ross, which, makes me sad. It's I really want them to do something with that character. But one of the things, and the big reveal from the Captain America thing is that, yes, Cap is coming back. Steve Rogers will be Captain America again. All super soldierized, and I am really disappointed by this. I have to be honest with you, Phil. It really, really disappoints. Because in essence, it makes what Viper said last issue just true. It's like when Viper says, "Everyone knows you're just holding on." Or actually, no, that was. Actually, I think that was Loki to Girl 4, but the same premise holds that you're just holding this until the real guy shows up, till the real guy gets back in the game, and I think, and even though they say no, Sam Wilson's going to still be Cap too, it's like, well, no, no, you've immediately once you make Steve Rogers Captain America again. You can't have Captain America Steve Rogers and Sam Wilson Steve Rogers and say, well, we just have two Captain Americas. There aren't two Captain Americas, Mm-hmm. Unless you're going to start bringing back in William Burnside and Protoside and just have the Captain America Corps. No. The Captain's America. You don't have two Captain Americas. You have Steve Rogers and then you have Sam Wilson. And I just think it's a real, and it's the same guy writing both books. And actually, I believe he was writing Ant-Man too, which surprises me because, I like I like Captain America. I really hate Ant-Man. So, it just goes to show you. But no, I just feel it's a real slight against Sam. And the concept in it, and it's like, it's not even. He didn't even have Bucky's run as Captain America. Where does he even get? When Captain America comes back and says, "No, you're Captain America. I'm going to be, the super soldier. I'm going to be just Captain Rogers, Yeah. And it's like, oh, no. You don't get the respect Bucky got, Sam. You're just going to have to share the title with the quote unquote Cap Classic,
Well, did you see? Sorry, I was going to say, well, I think I told you before, I think the whole thing, it's just corporate stuff. They want their cake and they, want to eat it too. They want to make money off everyone who likes Steve, everyone who likes Sam, and it's the whole branding thing with the movie coming up. And
yeah, but it is it is base commercialism at its most foul. And I will have no part of it. Well, I'll probably buy the dang books, but it's very frustrating to me to not even have like a full year, because it doesn't seem. I mean, maybe it will be in total a full year of Sam Cap, but and hey, we're already Sam Cap. It's I will say this: my Captain America is Sam Wilson now, and this other guy, he's the replacement. And I'm not sure I'm going to be going along with the replacement Cap.
Are you team Steve or are you team Sam?
I'm team Sam, man. Right now, that's our new Civil War. I'm team Sam.
Marvel, we came up with that first.
Yeah. So #team Sam. No, it just like I say, it just makes and they're going to say, well, Sam gets to keep the shield. But of course, it's not the shield that makes you Captain America. It's and here's what, and like I said, if you want to have Steve Rogers back as a superhero, fine, have him be the super soldier, have him take on some other identity, have him be the captain again. There is not currently a U.S. agent,
Oh yeah,
yeah.
I would love to have if he wore that original U.S. agent outfit.
Oh heck, that just fits into that whole vibe that we got going on in Sam Wilson Captain America, where we've got D-Man and Diamondback, and just have Steve Rogers back as the captain. That would be awesome. See, that I would say, yes, I am totally behind that as an idea. Captain America and the Captain fighting for truth, justice, and the American way. That is a story I could get behind.
Mm-hmm.
But no, but you're going to call him Steve Rogers Captain America. It just and they're putting him in the Captain America uniform too. It's not even like, oh, he's going to have, like when he had his, his super soldier uniform. It's not even going to be that. It's going to be, although they gave the super soldier uniform to Nick Fury Jr. So, oh, Marvel, you're Marvel is Marvel's turning me into a DC fan. Oh. I don't mean like I'm going to read DC books, but it's where I'm going to simultaneously praise and deride every choice they're making.
But you mentioned Bucky. Did you see what they're doing with Bucky coming up here?
Yes, he is going to be leading the Thunderbolts, apparently.
Yep.
Which is, again, an interesting thing. I find that interesting in the fact that, if I recall correctly, wasn't Jack Monroe leading the Thunderbolts at one point as Citizen V, or?
He was kind of interacting with them for a while, but yeah, no, he didn't lead them, but yeah, he was kind of in there with them for a little bit.
No, that's right. He had the Scourge identity for a while. That's right, when he was mind controlled. But one of the many times he was mind controlled.
Yeah, but do you think this is like Marvel's like shot at like trying to do Suicide Squad?
Well, there's always. I mean, it has been that in the past. Although the Thunderbolts, wound up in the Suicide Squad mold when Luke Cage was running it.
Mm-hmm.
Because the original concept was just villains being heroes, while still being villains. Sort of as a proto-Dark Avengers, what we eventually got.
Then Hawkeye took over, and there was a whole redemption thing.
Yeah, and then we got the redemption arc, and then they've played with the Thunderbolts concept a lot. Personally, I actually really liked the Red Hulk's Thunderbolts, and
with Deadpool and Punisher and everyone.
Yeah, exactly. That was actually a pretty cool storyline. And here it seems like they're going with the classic Thunderbolts, which is, okay. Although I never actually read the Thunderbolts when they were the Thunderbolts. I think I only came across the Thunderbolts when they were doing the Suicide Squad plotline, and they had Norman Osborn as the head of the Thunderbolts. Back when he was quote unquote, cured and was moving up the ranks of government before he wound up as the head of Hammer. Although, again, speaking of tie-ins to the movie, if you're going to have Bucky and Winter Soldier, or whatever we're going to call him now, and the Thunderbolts, maybe that is going to lead into some kind of tie-in to a Thunderbolts reference in Civil War, and maybe leading into a Hammer creation. And like I said, my real hope is that we find out at the end of Civil War is that Hammer rises. You know, it's an interesting thing. Although one of the things I have to say about, and this is just this thing, because this is, so if you saw, we haven't gotten a lot on the Steve Rogers Captain America book, although we do see that Sam's in it, sort of saying, see, Sam's still Captain America too. He's in the background, but he's still Captain America.
Well, if you look way, way far in the background, like there's a little tiny figure, I think it's Bucky.
Oh, yeah, you know, they're all there. Well, like I said, and if you want to do Captain America Corps, let's see what we can do with that. But here's what I'm going to say about what I thought was interesting about that, is they also have Sharon Carter on there. And if you look at it, you can see that they're kind of very poorly trying to draw her with old woman face. And again, she was only in the Z dimension for 12 years. She's not old. She was like 26 when she went in. She's 38 now. I'm older than Sharon Carter. Even if you want to say Sharon Carter was 30, now she's 42. You know, she's not old woman makeup time. She's not Agatha Harkness. And I can tell that they're going to have as hard of a time trying to show age on Sharon Carter as they have had a hard time trying to show age on Captain America when he's been depowered, you know, to the point where we're at this point, we're like, oh no, he's still like, I don't even know what he's supposed to be. I really don't even know what Captain America is supposed to be. Is he, because he's clearly not scrawny Steve anymore, except for when that is helpful to the plot. You know, he's still wearing freaking skin tight spandex everywhere. You know, it's
Yeah, that super soldier serum's like halfway back already.
Honestly, it doesn't even look like it's gone. It's like oh, he's got gray hair, you know?
Yeah, it's just these old...
his muscles aren't as big as they were, but he's got muscles. He's got real tone and physicality, you know? Mm-hmm. So, and, you know, and they're never even going to bother to explain why, you know? You know, apparently, like, whatever brings Cap back has to do with standoff, you know, however that works. Although, as I said, it's interesting because we did get a little preview of the the first issue of Standoff. We got a preview of it on Comic Book Resources this week. It's unlettered as always, and we see Winter Soldier. I don't know if he's breaking into a place or if he's just entering through the window as superheroes will want to do. You know, because they see him jumping around a S.H.I.E.L.D. facility. They show him going inside, and then, but it doesn't look like anyone's like, oh, how did you get in here? But you see that they've got like all these like canisters containing Kirby crackles, which I think are like, maybe they were saying about how they were trying to piece together a cosmic cube from these pieces of cosmic cubes, which, not for nothing, they actually did that once before. When in the first Winter Soldier flatline, when Lucan gets possessed by the mind of
Red Skull.
The Red Skull, and that because his mind was trapped in the shattered cosmic cube, which they pieced back together. So, you know, it's Marvel's doing a little bit of rehashes here. Now, hopefully, they're going to put new spins on everything, like they did with Secret Wars. It was a rehash of something, but they also put a new spin on it, and they made it interesting. So, hopefully, Marvel's going to keep up with that. But you know. But what makes me wonder now is Bucky maybe the Whisperer? You know, as if what that thing is, if what we see here is that's where he finds out about the, you know, putting together these pieces of cosmic cubes, maybe finding out that maybe his history was not what it was, you know. I mean, you know, it's interesting if you go by the Avengers, the Avengers cartoon that predated the current Avengers cartoon. You know, when they actually bring Bucky back, what they actually had was Cap touched a cosmic cube and rewrote history, so Bucky survived. But he didn't he didn't bring Bucky back right there. He just reached out through time and altered the past. But of course, that also has an interesting, you know, negative outcome for Bucky, because then he becomes a brainwashed assassin. So it'll be interesting if Bucky finds out that no, actually he was dead, but that because of these manipulations in reality, maybe Steve brought him back, but didn't, that in the way that he brought him back actually brought him back in a bad way, Perhaps even as we see in all of our magic books right now, the cost of any time you do magic, the cost of bringing someone back from the dead is things aren't what you want them to be, whether they come back, without a soul as Viper has, or if you can alter history, but then that history gets played out from there. And if he survives, how does he survive? And if he survives, where has he been? And, in creating a non-paradoxical alteration of the past, what does that accomplish? Someone had actually recently posted an interesting thing with regard. One of the things that might come into the Civil War dynamic is the suggestion by Zola in Winter Soldier that Winter Soldier was the one who was sent to kill Howard Stark. So that might be another aspect of this. And again, I'm wondering if there's going to be this manipulation of Tony. I mean, definitely, I think there's definitely going to be manipulation of our heroes in this to drive them into this spot. And I think that, like I say, I think the Winter Soldier becomes central to this, and the idea that the Winter Soldier may have killed Howard and Maria Stark might play into that. There's an interesting character to get a cameo on Peggy Carter this season. What's Sebastian Stan doing? I would love to see Sebastian Stan show up on Peggy Carter. That would be pure awesomeness. But anyway, so I definitely think they're going to have a hard time drawing older Sharon Carter, because I don't think that the artists who draw this thing know what a grown-up woman looks like. They know what porn stars look like. We know that. But you definitely see that, and like I said, and it's not just, I'm picking on Sharon Carter, but we know they had the exact same problem with Steve Rogers. No one knew how to draw an old guy without big muscles, because they can do Old Man Logan, they can do the ripped up, the totally ripped, badass old guy, but they don't know how to draw spindly armed, asthmatic Steve Rogers from the 1940s. They don't know how to draw that. I mean, they can draw him, and he always looks a little weird when they drew him, because, whenever they draw, like, flashback to 1940s Steve Rogers, and he's got the long spider arms and everything. But, they could not translate that into old man makeup. So, and of course, they wanted to still have Steve Rogers doing stuff, and it's like, the thing is that you could still always have Steve Rogers doing stuff. You just make him Professor Xavier. But nobody wanted to make Steve Rogers Professor Xavier. No one wanted him to be behind the scenes, manipulating things and calculating things, So anyway, all in all, right now for me, Captain America Steve Rogers is a huge disappointment. Between from the one piece of artwork we have on it, from the putting Sam Wilson in the corner, from not knowing how to draw Sharon Carter without giving her Agatha Harkness's face on Pamela Anderson's body, which seems to be what they're going for here. It's all just to me. It's just a bad idea that. Until it comes out and I actually have something to look at, it's just going to get worse in my mind. So, moving right along to Agent Carter. So yeah, and I've been rewatching it. It's very fascinating. Now, of course, a lot has been made that apparently that logo of the stick pin that Dottie MacGuffined in the beginning of the series, and you see her like totally. She's totally obsessed with Peggy, Boy, there's got to be a lot of fanfic on the internet about that one. Let me tell you. She is very obsessed with Peggy, to the point where she's changed her hair color and is wearing the little red hat because that's what Peggy would wear. And Peggy says she likes the hat. Although, of course, Peggy had the wider brim, the more respectable hat, whereas Dottie's got that little pork pie hipster hat that nobody liked. Nobody likes you, pork pie hipster hat. Nobody. Just saying that now. Nobody likes it.
Fashionista, Charlie Esser.
So we get a great fight scene to open it up with Dottie and Peggy, and then Peggy gets called away to California because her boss wants to get rid of her, and Sosa needs somebody there, and they send Peggy. And of course, relationships. It's kind of, I found it interesting that because they do have a little relationship subplot between Sousa and Peggy, in the idea that but it's interesting because of course Peggy kind of shot Sousa down last season, but now that Sousa's got someone else, it's a little like I didn't want to be with you, but I didn't want you to actually have someone else.
That's always the way.
What has shades of Kamala Khan and Bruno, where Kamala shuts down Bruno and then Bruno goes, finds someone else, and Kamala's like, oh, well, okay, yeah, that is exactly what I told you to do, but, yeah. Now, I do wonder if Susan's girl's going to turn out to be Hydra.
Yeah.
Just going to call a shelter half an entrenching tool on this. I mean, it's like, oh, pretty girl falls in love with the, a guy missing a leg who just so happens to be the head of the super secret spy agency.
And she knows it?
Yeah, well, do we know that she knows it? Because I know that she knows where he works, but that's still officially a talent agency.
Well, no, she said when he came home that morning, she said something like, "Oh, my boyfriend catches the bad guys" or something.
Oh, okay. So there we go. So she knows something, but yeah. Although I do have to say that with the talent agency front, I really loved having the tap dancers in the start, and I do hope we get some more characters like that. And I just between you and me, I think it's a great place to put in some great little Marvel Easter eggs. Just have some 1940 era's golden age heroes coming in and trying to get their Spider-Man on, trying to get a gig now that there's so few Nazis left to fight. And honestly, that's a perfect place to have Monaco, the Prince of Magic, show up because he obviously did work as a stage magician at the time.
You call yourself Miss America?
Yes. Yes, so I'm just saying this would be a great place to get some of these things in there. If they keep that as an ongoing gag, and it would be a great place to sneak some things in. So it was a 2-hour piece here, and it was really good. So the secret organization clearly, it has the same logo as the original Hydra logo. It's they keep on spinning upside down, flipping around. Although, as an interesting of order in this, does it strike anyone else that logo also looks a lot like an A for Avengers? And yes. the Avengers Initiative was the brainchild of S.H.I.E.L.D., which was under the control of Hydra, specifically under the control of Gideon Malik at the time. And could this be leading into a Dark Avengers sometime after Civil War, maybe?
Could be.
Just a thought there. No, that was the one thing that I saw. I said, why is... Because I saw that, and the first I saw it, I didn't see, it's the spaceship logo or the goat's head logo. I said, it's an Avengers logo. Why do they have an Avengers logo? And why is she trying to steal it? And why is there an Avengers logo over the evil guy's men's club, Mm-hmm. So it's an interesting idea that maybe what the Avengers were originally supposed to avenge was the Red Skull, perhaps. Nice to see the Devil from Reaper making a comeback because he was running the evil. He was part of Roxxon, wasn't he? Was that Roxxon last season, or was that a different company that was the rival of Howard Stark?
I think it was Roxxon.
They had the same. Yeah, good old Roxxon. Oh, Roxxon, we've gotten so much mileage out of you over the decade. And Exxon never sued, or if they did, they lost. So that's the good news. And now Marvel Disney owns Roxxon. So Anyway, but yes. So I really but I liked it. Now there was a lot of controversy. Well, I won't say a lot of controversy, but there was one message board that I happened to get into a conversation with a gentleman who felt that the racism exuded to Dr. Wilkes was not intense enough for the period of time. And I think they make some strong arguments that that it was that this guy was actively pursuing Peggy, who was a white woman at this point in history. That he didn't seem to care that he could very well be hung. Although it was a very to me, and like I said, I just rewatched this just before the podcast. It was interesting to me that they actually do call out lynching in it. Because he does make mention that when the lawyers came and talked to him, and they were throwing out words like treason, and he says treason and prison and hanging, which obviously is going to have a heavier meaning to this guy. And I think that there was a lot of coded racist language here, although there was also some very uncoded racist language towards Dr. Wilkes. So I think they did treat it well. I think that, there are people that are always going to be disappointed. There are people that say that, the sexism that Peggy encounters, what you have, you either have people say the racism or sexism is too much or it's too little. And of course, every individual's experience varies, and exactly who they are and what their situation is going to change too. I think that the guy showed... here's what I'll say. The guy put a lot of risks on the line for the possibility of getting with Peggy, which I guess just shows how incredible Peggy must be. Because here's this guy, and he's like, I'll put my job at risk and possibly treason and being hung to get a date with you, Peggy, because you're all that, Peggy. But who of us wouldn't risk treason for a date with Peggy Carter? So that was an interesting. What did you feel about that? Did you feel that it was too racist, not racist enough, or just hit the right amount of racism for 1907?
I think they got it right, because at first I was like, oh wait, are they not going to touch on it at all? Because I was like, but then they threw some of that in, and I was like, okay. I mean, as horrible as it was, it's probably an accurate picture of what the time was like.
Yeah. Well, and like in the conversation we had, this was actually on. If you want to look for it, you can look for it on the discuss section on the AV Club review. I posted Charlie Esser there, and you'll see. I think it's got the black and white photo of me next to it, but I don't think it's the Reed Richards one. For those who follow my Facebook, but anyway, not that I've been on my Facebook recently, but it's very good for instant messaging. Anyway, but yeah, and what the guy said was like, look, the diner owner should have gotten people together who would have tried to lynch him, and but everyone else was saying, look, and the kiss, I think, really threw the dancing and the kiss really got the guy upset, because he said, well, in 1947, a black guy is not going to do that. But what everyone else pointed out to him was like, look, the kiss is in a dark phone booth. They are alone. That is private. And the dancing was in an African-American club, and that's why he calls it out. He says, I wanted to go to a place where we weren't going to stand out. An integrated African-American club was a safe place for him to go, because if they had gone to a white club, he was going to stand out, and people were going to go attack him. So, there was logic, and they did address it, even if they didn't, take 10 minutes out to read some Harlan Ellison here, or not Harlan Ellison, who wrote The Invisible Man? I'm blowing my reference here now.
I'm blanking.
Anyway, not The Invisible Man, Invisible Man, because that spoilers. If you haven't seen it yet, here comes the spoilers. Oh, we actually had some spoilers. At the end, it looks like Jason Wilkes dies. Now, in the comics, Jason Wilkes is a character, and what actually happens to him is he becomes invisible and intangible, literally an invisible man. A man who is still there, but who can't be seen and who can't interact with things. And I think, I mean, obviously he's going to have some kind of ability to interact with things. And it's going to be interesting to see how Jason, in fact, I would not be surprised if we don't open it up with Jason walking through walls and being seen like this and not knowing, am I a ghost? Am I dead? Or people just ignore me because I'm black. which that's sort of the line in Invisible Man, where people don't see me, they look through me, and they see what's surrounding me, and it's a nice. I don't know if it was an intentional call out. This takes place in 1947. Invisible Man came out in 1952. I don't know if that was an intentional call out, but the idea is that as an African American, you can at times be invisible in society. You are unseen until someone wants to see you and do you harm. Is the basic idea. And I think turning Dr. Wilkes into a literal Invisible Man is a nice little comic book nod to that idea. Which I hope they explore. I mean, really, we don't know exactly what's going to happen. Until I actually did a little more research into it, I actually was wondering if they were going to sort of backdoor in the Blue Marvel concept here. That he's going to come back and he's going to have, Blue Marvel style powers, who likewise got his powers through exposure to exotic, extra-dimensional materials. And zero matter and neutral matter kind of sounds a little bit similar there. But one thing I did feel is that it was interesting to me to see some things that sort of tied together previously established Shield and Peggy stuff. I mean, the dark matter has powers that are very similar, or not dark matter. The zero matter has powers that are very similar to what we saw with what's his name, Frostbite. I want to say, or is it Jack Frost? The guy with the cold powers we established in the first season.
Wasn't there a Jack Frost in the 40s?
Well, there was Jack Frost. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there was, but in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. in the first season, there's the guy he's an Iron Man villain.
Blizzard.
Blizzard, that's who. So we have a very similar power set to the Blizzard with the zero matter. And then we also have that the Dark Force was shown in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And we do know from additional reading that the Dark Force and Dark Matter and Zero Matter are going to be related, and that from what they've said, it has a tie to the Dark Dimension. And then you had what actually opens it is an implosion similar to what we saw at the Roxxon oil refinery in the first season with Howard's implosion bomb, And I thought that was an interesting thing. You also have the fact that, as people have called out, zero matter behaves a lot like gravitonium. So, and of course, when it first appears, you see, the trucks levitating, much in the way they did when gravitonium was present. So it's an interesting aspect to this story, and I wonder how it's going to play out. I wonder, I'm really fascinated by what exactly they're going to be doing with this, because it's very interesting. I want to see what happens with Dr. Wilkes, if he's going to become a superhero in this, which would be pretty awesome, or at least a superhuman. And then what happens to him next? If he is intangible, can they make a prison that can hold him? Well, actually, ironically enough, he invented the magnetic containment unit for the dark matter, so perhaps he inadvertently built his own prison. That'd be dark. Yeah, I mean, it depends if they want to end this on a Empire Strikes Back note or what. If we're going to end it off with Dr. Wilkes in the magnetic prison, unable to escape, and until someone unlocks it during the Civil War, and then we'll see him back in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. We'll have to see what happens there. Yeah, it is very it's very interesting what we're seeing in Agents Carter, and I really want to see where it goes next. Of course, we got our Madame Mask reference with Whitney Frost, and the fact that the movie. Did you see the name of the movie she was in?
I think I missed it. What was it?
The Girl with the Golden Face.
Oh yeah.
Yes, and of course we see that she's got her first little Doctor Doom scar from the dark matter, or from the zero matter. She's got a little black dot on her head, So we get to have a proto Doctor Doom in this too. Won't that be fun? Yeah, so I'm very interested to see where it goes. It's going nicely. It's going somewhere good. We know that. And opened big. And for what it's worth, Dottie's interrogation scene before Kurtwood Smith comes in was pretty awesome. When he uncuffs her and he's like, well, so and he's like, this is what we're gonna do, and she's like, okay, bam, and puts the table on his neck.
You killed the carrot.
Yeah, it was a pretty, but it was just funny because it just shows how much people are underestimating both Dottie and Peggy, and of course how they use that to their advantage. One thing that I thought was interesting about the Peggy Wilkes interactions is that very much very much you have this idea of the spy seducing the secrets out of the guy, except Peggy clearly isn't trying to seduce anyone. It's just that the guy is like, well, you're a pretty incapable woman, and I'll give you whatever information you want. Maybe is I don't know if that's good or bad or indifferent, but it was interesting to see. Okay, and yeah. Beyond that, that's where we're at. I think that's all for Agent Carter. Is there any other news coming out of the Marvel Universe this week?
I don't think so. We covered the TV shows. We got in a little in the comics with Steve Rogers and Bucky. I think we pretty much covered it.
Yeah. I guess that's everything. I'm so fascinated to see if Valeria Von Doom is the Whisperer, or if she's going to be tied in with as the little girl holding the cosmic cube with all the screaming heads in it. It's going to be interesting to see where it all comes. And one thing I really want to find out is where all the dead people are coming from. Because, like I said, with Faustus saying I didn't come back from the dead for this in Ms. Marvel, it's interesting to me because it makes you wonder how many dead people know they used to be dead. As an interesting point, not related to that, but Patsy Walker in her issue also made reference to the fact that she was dead for a while, and how hard it is to get a job when you've been dead for a while. That if they do an adequate enough background check, they said, well, this says you're dead. It's like, yes, but I came back.
Did you see that promo image from Marvel that they just put out? It's like a black background and white letters. It just says Dead No More.
Yes. And we are going to get the revelation of what Dead No More means on Free Comic Book Day. That was the other thing I wanted to talk about. They on Free Comic Book Day, so for once they're actually going to be doing something really cool with Free Comic Book Day and actually revealing something. And what their promo teaser for it is, if you could bring someone back, what would the consequences of doing so be? And which has got everyone with the speculation. Oh, who could it be? Obviously there's a lot of thought. Could they finally be bringing back Uncle Ben? And is it going to create a universe where Uncle Ben never died? And what does Peter Parker do then? Of course, we know exactly what happens if Uncle Ben doesn't die because they wrote that story. It was What If number. I forget what if number. First volume. What if? Look it up. What if Uncle Ben never died? And basically, Peter Parker goes on being a jerk and eventually hires Daredevil to be a fellow entertainer. Although Daredevil never quite gets into it, but he gives Daredevil the red costume because he says, "Black and yellow. Come on, Daredevil. What are you? Colorblind?" Great line. Always remember that. Yes, but you'll know it when you're going to the long boxes because it has Ed McMahon on the cover saying, "Here's Spidey." Yeah. So it's interesting. Now I just think that it's going to be more about all the people that have been coming back because, like I said, it's interesting to me how many people have just walked back from the dead, and I'm waiting for my Victoria Hand to come back. I know Rob's waiting for Lucy Lawless to come back, but that's a whole other universe. I don't know if we're going to have Lucy Lawless come back in this, but it's going to be interesting. However they play it out, and there are a lot of people think that it actually might be Captain Marvel coming back, because of course the Dead No More font and art style looks a lot like the Death of Captain Marvel art style. that they had at the promo art at that time. So there is some thought that it's going to be Captain Marvel coming back. In which case, we'll have two Captain Americas and two Captain Marvels. Why not? Who knows? Maybe even Spectrum will take her damn name back and say, "I'm Captain Marvel." Dang it!
Why not? We have 20 Spider-Men running around.
Yeah, exactly. We've got 2 Thors, 3 Spider-Men, and 2 Captain Americas. And that's also sort of their argument with the Sam Wilson Captain America is that, because you have Miles Morales as Spider-Man, but you also have Amazing Spider-Man. It's like, yeah, you do. But at the same time, first off, no, we actually don't have Miles Morales Spider-Man yet. We're not getting him until February. Yeah, Spider-Man's working, as Miles Morales, he's working in the Avengers, but, it's not the same thing as having the 2 ongoing comic books, or have everyone refer to, one Spider-Man as one thing. And, if you have Hank Pym coming back working as Ant-Man, well, Scott Lang is also working as Ant-Man. I mean, I don't know. I don't know about all the redundancy. Like I said, unless we're forming the Captain America Corps or the Captain Marvel Corps, it seems odd to me. The Green Lanterns pull it off, though. So I guess that's the real argument: is the Green Lanterns pull it off? The Green Lanterns are all Green Lanterns. The Novas are all Novas. So sure, why not? They're all Captain Americas. They're all Captain Marvels. They're all Spider-Men or Spider-Women's. I just don't quite know what to make of it, and like I said, I think specifically with the Sam Wilson aspect of it, it's a little disappointing in the idea that that Sam is kind of was just but we all know how Cap feels about his shield. I don't know how long that's going to last. And like I said, yeah. I would rather they had him. Would have been happier if they had him come back as the captain. If you want to bring Steve Rogers back, that's fine. But don't make him be Captain America. Make him be the captain. Make him be have him be Nomad. Literally, no one is using the Nomad name right now. I mean, even Ian Rogers isn't back yet. So I don't know if he's using it. But, that's one of the. We don't know where Ian is yet. Although I'll say this, if the Dead No More is Ian, I'm going to be very disappointed because Ian wasn't dead. Ian was in the Infinite Elevator. Everyone thought he was dead, but he wasn't actually dead.
I think it's going to be a big name, like you were saying, either Marvel or Uncle Ben, or maybe it's Gwen Stacy or somebody.
Yeah, well, I think otherwise it's just, okay, they brought them back. Because like I said, we've had a lot of people come back from the dead already. So either they have to reveal how people are coming back from the dead, which might be Reed Richards doing, but why is he raising all these villains too, would be the question. Unless, of course, maybe that...
Well, yeah, that was my thought. Maybe they're going to bring back a bunch of people.
Maybe that's the thing, is that you can bring back a hero, but you have to bring back a villain too.
Ooh.
So in order for D-Man to still be alive, you have to have the Viper come back. In order for, someone else to come back, something of equal or greater evil has to come back. Or if you do it the other way, for every evil that comes back, you have to have a hero come back. That there is a scaled universe. It's very, there's a lot of very interesting things going on in Marvel right now. A lot of little hints here and there that I think seem to be part of a coordinated effort to tell a broader story across all the books, and that part I enjoy. But it's I just wish they could learn how to draw old people. And on that, I think that's more than enough connections for 1 week. So, what do you think?
Yeah, we hit it all.
We hit it all. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you would like to connect with us, you can always write to me at superconnectivityblog@gmail.com. That's superconnectivityblog@gmail.com. And, of course, follow me on the Twitters, where you can see me occasionally live tweet Agent Carter, or even one of the many DC shows that are out there, until we get some more Marvel shows coming up, like Marvel's Most Wanted. Is Mockingbird the most wanted? We don't know yet. We'll find out. Maybe she goes rogue. Anyway, and you can follow me at that at Charlie Esser on Twitter. That's CharlieEssser. Look for the 2 E's in the middle for quality. And Phil, how can they find you?
I'm in so many different places. The easiest way to contact me is to either email me, nightwingpdp@gmail.com, and on Twitter, I am @nightwingpdp.
Okay. And of course, we need all of our fans here in the Marvel Universe to write in to protest the injustice done to Marvel by one Philip Perch in finding for our arch nemesis Lilith Hellfire in the great Marvel DC face-off, and demand a rematch. Demand it. Say, we will not rest until a rematch occurs. So we in the Marvel Universe need your help. If you want to let this injustice stand, then you are no Marvelite. So write in and say we must be avenged against the evil Lilith Hellfire.
And let us know if you're Team Steve or Team Sam.
Yes, that too. Okay. Thank you everyone for listening. Connect with us again.